sure we have everyone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, come up.
We still social distancing.
Respect her. Well, good morning, and thank you for being here with us today. I'm proud to stand alongside my colleagues, Representative Bush and Jeffries, our grassroots partners, to discuss our collective work to transform our clemency system and to confront the crisis that is mass incarceration. I'll make it plain. Mass incarceration is a miscarriage of justice rooted in slavery and white supremacy. It's ravaged our communities, destabilized families, and exacerbated generational trauma for far too long. It is a crisis that disproportionately impacts our most marginalized, Black, Latinx, Indigenous, LGBTQ+, and disabled siblings, and it is a result of generations of policy violence. As policymakers, we have an opportunity and an obligation to reject this unjust status quo, to reimagine what public safety looks like in this country, and take every measure possible to end this cycle of trauma and hurt. With his clemency authority, President Biden has a powerful tool available to him to reduce the federal prison population and to rectify the injustices created by the criminal legal system. Our current clemency system is broken. It is inherently flawed, severely burdensome, and deprives thousands at the chance of redemption and justice. Historically, the clemency process in the DOJ has been greatly influenced by law enforcement and prosecutorial interest, and includes redundant levels of scrutiny by DOJ staff who can unilaterally obstruct a clemency application from reaching the president. So it's no surprise that there are over 15,000 pending clemency petitions waiting to be reviewed. 15,000 people, parents, grandparents, and loved ones who have been left hanging in the balance, left to wait. Wait for their chance at redemption, wait for their chance at justice. Justice delayed is justice denied. The Fixed Clemency Act, which I am proud to introduce alongside my colleagues, Representatives Bush and Jeffries, will transform our broken clemency process by replacing this redundant and unjust DOJ process with a new and independent U.S. Clemency Board. This board will be comprised of experts in fields like behavioral health, rehabilitation, and reentry, appointed by the president, including a person who is formerly incarcerated, because I believe that the people closest to the pain should be closest to the power, driving and informing the policy solutions. The board would be directly responsible for reviewing applications, requesting a pardon, commutation, or relief from collateral consequences like access to occupational licensing and government resources. And all recommendations by the board would be transmitted directly to the president and included in an annual report to Congress. Our bill makes the clemency process one that is transparent and independent, and would streamline the process, making it easier, in fact, for the president to use his clemency authority to clear this unjust backlog. People's lives hang in the balance. Congress can and must act, because our mass incarceration crisis is one of our country's greatest failures. It is a policy failure. It is a moral failure. This is personal. Growing up with an incarcerated parent, I can only imagine how different my own childhood would have been if a father was given the help that he so desperately needed and deserved. My father, who was battling substance use disorder, should have been met with on-demand treatment, culturally competent treatment. Instead, the system only served to criminalize my father for his addiction. And as a result, I was forced to also carry that burden. And with over 2.3 million people incarcerated in the United States, more per capita than any other nation in the world, my story is hardly an anomaly. So there is no excuse for this problem we've created, but there is a solution, and clemency is a part of that solution. Thank you again to my colleagues, two of my favorite justice seekers, for joining us today, and to our partners in this work at the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls, the Movement for Black Lives, and the ACLU for their close partnership in developing this critical legislation. And next, we'll hear from Congresswoman Cori Bush, who has been a partner in this work throughout her time here.
Good morning. Thank you, of course, to Congresswoman Presley and Congressman Jeffries for their partnership in introducing this important and very timely, very much necessary, this wonderful legislation. I'm so proud to be here doing this work with the both of you. We are a society of cycles of violence, of poverty, of trauma. We see those cycles in our carceral system, which is built to perpetuate and lock entire communities into a cycle for generation after generation. Every arrest, every pretrial detention, every mandatory minimum sentence, every child separated from their parents or a loved one separated from their family keeps the cycle going. We see those cycles in the rise of our federal prison population, the first increase in nearly 8 years. Let me say that again. After nearly 8 years of decline in the federal prison population, it is now growing. I ran on dismantling our criminal legal system's nature to lock people up in prison, in those prison cells for years on end. Democrats were elected on a promise to end mass incarceration, and we must deliver on it. We see those cycles also in the fact that while 18 states have legalized marijuana in this country, tens of thousands of people sit in federal prison on marijuana charges. And we see those cycles in our clemency system as we witness the fact that over 18,000 clemency petitions are languishing in the Department of Justice right now, waiting for review, just waiting. We're talking about people, these individuals who have waited for years for a chance, just a chance to be released and to regain their freedom. What about them? We must dismantle the violence of oppressive, racist systems like our criminal legal system and chart a path forward that centers on compassion over punishment, justice over profits, humanity over criminalization. That work requires righting the wrongs and correcting the systemic and racial injustices that have become common practice in our prison system. The president has the extraordinary power to grant clemency with the stroke of his pen. All he needs to do is use it. As a pastor, an activist, a congresswoman, I believe what my dear friend, and I call her auntie, Dr. Angela Davis, has said, that prisons do not disappear social problems, they disappear human beings. And historically, that's what has happened. We've disappeared people, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, and it's a disgrace. We are supposed to be better. I'd love to say we are better, but we're supposed to be better. We have not shown that yet. I'm proud to be introducing this bill today with my colleagues so that we can create a system that is rooted in humanity and a love for all people, all meaning all, because all only means all. To everyone in St. Louis caught up in this cycle, know that I am here to work with you. I am here to work for you. We are here to do the work to change the discourse so people know that you are not inmates, you're not convicts or felons. You are people who are incarcerated, people who deserve the right to vote, people who do not deserve to die behind bars, people with families who depend on them, and people who need us to care, center, and protect them. When I came to Congress, I said I was here to save lives. The Fixed Clemency Act will help us do just that. Thank you. And now let me introduce our chair of the House Democratic Caucus, none other than Hakeem Jeffries.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Corey, for your introduction and for your leadership and partnership. And certainly, I want to thank the prime sponsor of this very important initiative, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, for her heart, her soul, her passion, her intellect, her vision, and in helping to move the cause of justice forward with the Fixed Clemency Act. I'm proud to stand with my two distinguished colleagues, not just of the House Democratic Caucus, but of the Congressional Black Caucus, in the 50th year of the CBC. And 50 years ago, there was only one African-American woman, Shirley Chisholm. I'm proud to represent the district that she once served. She was unbought and unbossed. And I'm standing with two carriers of that legacy today. And the country is better off as a result of the CBC's vision and the continuity that this moment represents. I'm so thankful for the advocates who have joined us today for their persistent advocacy in helping to push America forward to correct its imperfections. The framers, who were imperfect individuals, didn't promise a perfect country, however, but they did promise a march toward a more perfect union. And that's what the Fixed Clemency Act represents, trying to perfect a system of justice that is imperfect right now. And the irony of this moment is that at the same time, 50 years ago, when the Congressional Black Caucus was founded, the war on drugs started. When in 1971, Richard Nixon declared drug abuse public enemy number one. And at that point in time, there were less than 300,000 people incarcerated in America. Today, 2.3 million, disproportionately Black and Latino, many of them incarcerated for nonviolent drug offenses. More people incarcerated in America per capita than any other country in the world, including China and Russia combined. It's a stain on our democracy, and it must be dismantled. The era of mass incarceration must end. The era of mass liberation must begin.
Yes.
And in order to bring that about, the Fixed Clemency Act will play a substantial role. The power of the pardon or to commute a sentence is in the Constitution. But the process that has been put in place within the Department of Justice is a broken and cumbersome one that impedes the ability of a president to actually bring about the justice contemplated in the Constitution. So theoretically it can be exercised, but in practice it is not in far too many cases. As Sister Ayanna indicated, 15,000 petitions currently pending, but because of a broken system, the inability to act with the type of speed necessary, not all deliberate speed. We know what happens when you put a system into place to bring about all deliberate speed. It's designed to stop justice from happening. We learned that in the context of Brown v. Board of Education. We need a functional system. And that is what the Fixed Clemency Act will bring about with the appointment of a board, including a formerly incarcerated individual. At least one. And so, Mr. President, that doesn't mean it can't be more than one when we move this legislation to your desk. And so I'm just thankful for the leadership of Representative Presley, Representative Bush, and look forward to making sure that we get this bill out of the House, over to the Senate, over the finish line, and to President Joe Biden's desk, so we can really bring about the era of mass liberation.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Jeffries, as usual, for providing that clarity that you do, and thank you, Representative Bush, for providing that conviction, which you always do. Now we want to invite up to the podium Catherine Sevchenko from the National Council.
Good morning. Presidents and the public view clemency as a quadrennial lottery in which a few lucky people are set free as the president leaves office. It has been further trivialized by the annual turkey pardon at Thanksgiving. This is a travesty. Clemency is supposed to be a bedrock principle that is deeply rooted in our legal system. The Supreme Court has repeatedly said that it is the solution for miscarriages of justice that the legal system can't fix. They say it is the fail-safe in our criminal justice system. So how is this so-called fail-safe working? It's not. This emergency brake does nothing to stop the machinery of justice that crushes people and their families daily. At last count, as you've heard, 15,000 applications for clemency are pending with the Office of the Pardon Attorney at the Department of Justice. People wait for years, sometimes decades, for a simple acknowledgement. And what they get after all that time is almost always a no. No reasons, no justification, just no. The FIX Act is therefore desperately needed. It will establish an independent and transparent system that will make meaningful recommendations to the president in a timely way. I am very proud to be on the staff of the National Council under the leadership of Andrea James. The National Council is a nonprofit that is no longer willing just to talk about the evils of mass incarceration, although we could do that all day. We want action that will allow us to see what different looks like. We want to know what it looks like, what happens when a woman who got a